QuaranJazz. Listen while you're home. Hello and welcome to the 32nd episode of QuaranJazz, your weekly update on what the jazz scene worldwide is doing during the year of 2020. I'm Geisa Fernandes, singer-songwriter and music researcher from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and your favorite podcast is starting now. Before I introduce you to this week's guest, let me please remind you that QuaranJazz is a proud participant of the Social Distancing Festival, an amazing action back there in March, which helped a lot of artists to get more visibility on their projects, including yours truly. You will find a link to the Social Distancing Festival in the description of this episode, where you can also find a link to my webpage, geisafernandes.com, and a direct link to my mailing list in case you want to subscribe and get free regular content. By subscribing, you'll get to know more about my own work as a singer and songwriter and other music-related podcasts that I produce. But if you feel more like getting in contact through a social network, you may like to know that I've created and manage a group on Facebook called The Touring Jazz Musician. The group was named after a guide that I wrote for jazz musicians who are interested in getting information on jazz festivals that accept submissions directly from artists. The guide is updated on an ongoing basis, but since its edition comes out once a year, the group was conceived to keep its members informed about the latest news on the subject. If this is your thing, join the discussion. The Touring Jazz Musician on Facebook. See you there! And you probably know by now that QuaranJazz has its own playlist on Spotify with all the songs featured during the episodes. And of course, weekly updates. Let's check what's new on the QuaranJazz playlist. There we go! No talk, all jazz. You just heard Niskud, a track from this week's guest in QuaranJazz, directly from Norway, guitarist, composer, band leader Andreas Haddeland. Hi Andreas, thank you very much for your participation in QuaranJazz. Andreas has just released a new album with his trio and he's gonna tell us about it. But before, as usual, I would like you to introduce yourself to our listeners and tell a little bit about your story, about your music.
Hello, my name is Andreas Haddeland. I'm a guitarist from Norway. I'm based at Nesodden, just outside Oslo. And I come from European jazz tradition. That's basically sums it up, I think. I played a huge kind of styles, but the basis is jazz. For several years I worked with a Sami musician called Ulla Pirtijärvi, and she was pointing her finger at me and said, I come from Sami musician and Sami tradition. What's your music? What's your story? What's your tradition? And I was guilty of answering. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, I have to find out.
I know what you mean. It's also kind of an ongoing process, right? And what about the trio?
After several years of thinking about it, I asked folk singer Liv Ulvik to work with me on traditional material with an open-minded way of playing it. After some years of working with that material, and we did also included Ulrik Ibsen Thorsrud on drums, and we formed the trio Österlide, and at the 16th of October this year we released a record.
Congratulations for that, very nice indeed. But I noted you also had some previously recorded material with your trio, right? An album that was recorded in an unusual way, because it was not recorded in a studio. What can you tell us about it?
Together with Lars Tormod Jenseth on bass and Ulrik Ibsen Thorsrud on drums, I formed my own trio with myself guitars and playing my tunes. From the second trio album we made last year, we didn't went to typical studio, but we used a room with a nice reverb in east of Oslo. We had the technician on the room next to it, and with microphones in the room, we recorded 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versions and takes of every tune from start to stop, and we just picked out the best takes.
And when the year started, what did you have in mind? I mean, you had the recordings done, so there was new material to be released, right? What were your original plans?
This year started out with a plan of touring with my trio, but when everything locked down in March, we had to cancel it. I had planned recording with Österlide, and we rehearsed the material and went to studio, and when we were finished recording, Norway was locked down, so we had to some time evaluating the recordings and could spend some time with the record production, and I'm really happy about the result. We had planned to release the record at the same time as a concert in early April, but because of the lockdown, we moved it to mid-October because that was possibly the time when we could play a concert. And over the summer, it were possible to play some small venues with 1 meter distance between audience. So I managed to book a little tour with 6 concerts in Norway with this material, because it's now allowed to have concerts or arrangements with 200 people, but everyone have to be 1 meter, have to keep 1 meter distance. So it depends on the room, how many people, and the exception is people in same family who live together. They can be closer. So how many people? It depends on how many are related to each other actually. Much of the small venues are normally for like 100 or 150. Now they can host 30, 40, 50. Depends on the room. So we did some concerts now with Nordically, and we're able to play for an audience of 30, about that, in most of the clubs, in most places we played concerts. So I'm happy to have the music out, though the economy in it is another question. We have some support from the state, but it doesn't cover the loss. So what I can say is the COVID is definitely a game changer.
A game changer. Very well put, Andreas. That's exactly what I feel. But on the other hand, one must say that you guys had a wonderful attitude, adapting to it. You really knew how to cope with the circumstances. Very nice. You know, Andreas, it's so strange for me as a Brazilian to listen you complaining about the state, because you have here this dream vision about Norway and the welfare state. It's interesting to have this information anyway. And now I would like you, please, to say a few words about the tracks that you've selected for us. One we listened already in the beginning of the episode. Beautiful one.
This tune has also given a name to the album, and it's called Nyskudd.
Very nice. And the second track, if I'm not mistaken, it is named after a Norwegian folk tale, right?
Second tune that I picked out is from the trio Nordically, which contains Liv Ulvik on vocals and Ulrik Ibsen Thorsrud on drums, and myself on guitars. The tune is a medieval ballad. The lyrics is about Nishin, or also called Nøkken, who's a mythical creature living in the water, who shapeshifts into a handsome young knight and rides into town. He enters the church where all the townspeople are gathered for mass, and he seeks out the most beautiful girl he can find there. After mass, he meets her and promises her a golden castle. So she joins him on his horse, but soon understands that something is wrong. The speed is too fast, and a medieval song is sounding from the hills, and Nishin reveals his true nature. The girl is terrified and deathly pale. She turns to God for help, and in the same moment, Nishin bursts like a dry bladder wreck. We try to make an arrangement of this story and this tune to go with the content of the lyric, and still try to use elements of jazz and improvisation in what we do.
All right. Thank you, Andreas. Thank you very much. Thank you for your participation in QuaranJazz, and congratulations for the new album. Really, releasing new material in 2020, it's more than an achievement. It is somehow also a love confession to music itself and the crafts of the musicians. Thank you very much. And thank you, dear listener, for staying with us. This was the 32nd episode of QuaranJazz, your weekly update on what is happening in the indie jazz scene during the year of 2020. I'm Geisa Fernandes, singer-songwriter and music researcher from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. It was a pleasure having you with us. And you know, if you'd like to contact me to talk about the show or to have your stories here in QuaranJazz, you will find right in the description of this episode several ways, including a link to my webpage, geisafernandes.com, a link to my mailing list in case you want to subscribe and get free regular content, and of course, a link to the QuaranJazz playlist on Spotify with all the songs featured during the episodes. No talk, all jazz. And if you are a Facebook user, you might consider joining the group The Touring Jazz Musician, especially created to keep musicians informed about the jazz festivals that accept submissions directly from artists. If this is your case, join the discussion. The Touring Jazz Musician. Well, dear listener, it is time to bid you farewell. Thank you very much for staying with us. Till next week. And now, ladies and gents, Nishin.
Vaknar
QuaranJazz. Listen while you're home. QuaranJazz, a podcast by Geisa Fernandes.